The door creaked open like a gun being cocked. 7 years of marriage, and I could tell this wasn't the same woman walking in. Emily rolled her suitcase across the hardwood floor, sunglasses still on though the sun had already died outside. She said the words every man dreads. "We need to talk." Then came the dagger. "I'm not sure about us anymore." I set my coffee down, looked straight at her and said, "That's interesting timing. I filed this morning." Her face froze, completely. Then I added, calm as a storm before it hits, "Oh, and say hi to John for me." Silence. Just the sound of her heart breaking against the floorboards. If you've ever stood at the edge of betrayal and smiled anyway, you'll want to hear what happened next. Hit subscribe, because this story is just getting started. The light in our living room came in thin and colorless, the kind that tells the truth. The clock on the mantel ticked like a drip in an empty room. I sat still and let the sound measure the distance between us. Emily stood 10 feet away, close enough to touch, far enough to miss. She slid off her sunglasses, slow, careful, like removing a mask she'd grown fond of. I said nothing. Men my age learn the cost of speaking first. She shifted her weight, eyes scanning for something soft in me. There wasn't any. My coffee was cold. So was the house. The couch springs creaked when I leaned forward. She flinched like the noise had teeth. 10 feet is nothing when you have a hand to hold. It's forever when you don't. I watched her mouth tense, then smooth out into that polite face we both wear when we're done, but not brave enough to say it. The room felt like a waiting room with no nurse, just a clock and bad air. I kept my voice in my chest and let the silence do the work. Somewhere in that quiet, I understood. This wasn't a conversation. It was evidence, not a fight, an inventory. Her lips parted, hunting for a story we could both live with. I didn't offer one, because the first crack didn't happen tonight. It didn't even sound like glass. It sounded like a fork on a plate. On the night everything started to slip. It never explodes all at once. It unthreads. At dinner we chewed more than we talked. The forks were louder than our voices. We called it busy, called it just a phase, two grown-ups giving names to distance so it wouldn't feel like failure. Nights ran long. Her laptop glowed on the couch, emails stacked like excuses. I'd ask, "You okay?" She'd say, "I'm fine." 2 words that closed doors and turned the lights off. Then the password changed. 7 years open, now a gate. She laughed, "It policy." And I signed the lie like a receipt. We got good at logistics and terrible at us. Groceries, bills, calendars. Our marriage became a spreadsheet with feelings in the margins. Touch needed timing. Jokes needed approval. I learned her tripwires. She learned my silences. That's how you vanish in plain sight. You stop being seen. "I'm fine" became tradition. I stopped asking for a better story. That's on me. But the night I understood I was sharing a bed with a stranger wearing my wife's face, something in me shifted from hope to inventory. You don't bargain with a storm, you board the windows. Morning came like it always does. Coffee, keys, routine. She stepped into the shower. Her phone lit the kitchen like a small fire. A name I didn't know. A line no husband should read. Can't wait for Portland. 2 weeks of just us. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. The screen went dark, and something in me finally switched on. Morning light in the kitchen, quiet as an apology. Coffee steaming, toast cooling, the same dumb routine it's always been. Her phone lit up on the counter, just a pulse of blue against stainless steel. A name I didn't recognize blinked once. John. I almost looked away. Habit, respect, whatever word men use when they're afraid of the answer. Another ping. The preview rolled up like a shade. Can't wait for Portland. I felt my grip go loose on the mug. Portland, not Seattle. The kind of slip you only make when you don't care if you're caught. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't need to. The screen dimmed, then woke again. Shameless. 2 weeks of just us. That line didn't shout. It didn't have to. It moved through my chest like ice water and stayed there. The shower cut off down the hall. Her humming, light, nothing. I stood at the sink, let the cold crawl from sternum to spine, and stared at the place where our life had always been. 2 cups, 1 counter, no lies. She padded in, towel in her hair, air fresh with soap and rehearsal. "Coffee smells good," she said. "It does," I answered, and breathed through the freeze. Men my age learn to hold still when the ground moves. I set the cup down carefully, like you set down a loaded truth, and I decided to stop guessing and start knowing. I didn't ask a single question. Not one. I poured more coffee, let the burn anchor me, and watched her thumb dance across the screen with that half-smile people get when the world is exactly the way they want it. She laughed at something I wasn't invited to. It landed soft and wrong in our kitchen. "When do you leave for Seattle?" I asked, steady, like checking the weather. "Friday," she said, quick and smooth. "Early flight." I nodded, like husbands nod. "You should go. Clear your head." The lie sat between us, warm as fresh bread. I let it steam. Not because I believed it, because I didn't. There's a difference between catching a thief in the act and building a case that never gets argued. I chose the second. Not to punish, to protect what was left of me. She scrolled. I sipped. We played house with straight faces. Men like me don't win shouting matches. We win with records, dates, names, places. We win by refusing to be dragged into the theater she'd been rehearsing. So I went quiet in a way that isn't surrender. It's strategy. When she left for work, I rinsed the cups, wiped the counter, and sat with the part of me that still wanted to beg. Then I opened my laptop and wrote down the details no one could spin. Portland, 2 weeks. John, Friday. Truth doesn't need noise, it needs proof. And I knew exactly where to find the man who collects it. Corner coffee shop, late morning, rain drying on the windows. He was already there, plain jacket, no shine, the kind of face you forget unless you need it. "Jack Sawyer," he said, like a fact. I like that, facts. I told him the short version, 7 years, distance with good manners, a phone lighting up in my kitchen, a name, a city that wasn't the one she told me. Portland, 2 weeks. John, Friday. He didn't flinch. He wrote, block letters, neat, no wasted ink. Every few seconds he'd nod once, as if pinning the story to a board only he could see. "What do you want exactly?" he asked. "The truth," I said, and heard how tired I sounded. Not a fight, not a scene. Proof. My rate's $100 an hour, plus expenses. $2,000 retainer to start. He slid a small form across. I looked at the coffee ring on the paper and thought about the ring I wore on my hand. One was a stain. One had become one. I signed the check. The pen felt heavy, like something you pick up when you're done pretending. He pocketed it with the same quiet he'd brought into the room. "Good," Jack said. "You're doing the right thing. We'll keep you safe." In a world built on lies, that sounded like oxygen. I left with a card in my wallet and a steadier spine. Next step, rules, and a plan that leaves no room for story, only facts. We met again, same quiet tone. I laid out what I had, a recent photo of Emily, her car's plate, the office address, the flight she claimed, a calendar that didn't match the truth. He stacked each piece like it belonged to a larger shape. "Knowledge is power," Jack said, "but only if it's organized." He printed a schedule, airport, hotel, restaurants, likely trails, the waterfront. He listed times, backup routes, and a simple system for updates, daily summaries, time-stamped photos, short videos when needed. A burner email for drops. No drama, just data. "And you," he added, "say nothing. No confrontations. If she senses heat, she'll change patterns. We need her routine. Your silence is the net." Silence. I could do that. I'd been practicing for years. We agreed on signals, what to do if she splits from John, what to do if he brings the kids into a lie. I gave him everything he asked for, then the one thing he didn't, my word. No slip-ups, no 2 a.m. texts, no "where are you?" out of fear. He capped his pen. Then we're live. Walking out, I didn't feel angry. I felt aligned. The storm could roar. I had numbers now, times, places, faces. That's how men like me stop drowning. We count. We build a case no one can talk around. Operation Truth started that Friday, and I was done being the last to know. Jack called after dark, voice steady like he was reading a file. John Miller, 36, marketing. Paper rustled. Married, Susan Miller, 2 kids, 8 and 5. I didn't say anything. Sometimes silence is the only clean response a man has left. He kept going. Socials pulled up, birthday cakes, soccer games, beach shots with matching sweatshirts, captions about my people. The kind of family album that makes you think decent lives still happen. I pictured Susan frosting cupcakes while he typed my wife's name with both thumbs and a grin. The room shrank around me. It wasn't just my marriage he stepped through. He'd walked through his own, through his kids, through a woman who trusted the same way I did, until she couldn't. There's a special kind of cold that comes when you realize betrayal is efficient. It never wastes a victim. Jack paused. You okay? No, I said, but I'm clear. And I was. Emily hadn't found a soulmate. She'd found a man practiced at misplacing his vows. It didn't turn her choice into an accident. It just made it uglier. We set the last details. Flight times, checkpoints, drop spots. He'd be at the airport. I'd stay still, keep quiet, let routine trap them both. Friday, Jack said. Friday, I repeated, and grabbed a pen. Names, ages, times, places. When the world tilts, numbers keep a man standing. Next stop, the day she leaves. She kissed my cheek at the door, light, quick, like the end of a voicemail. The suitcase rolled over the threshold and down the walk. I carried nothing. Men like me learn to hold the door and swallow the sound it makes. Seattle, she said, smiling the way people do when they're trying on a new story. 2 weeks. I'll call when I land. Have a good trip, I answered, and meant none of it. The rideshare pulled up. The trunk thumped, the latch snapped shut, and she was gone, tail lights fading into daylight. The house took a breath without her. The quiet wasn't peace. It was potential. The clock ticked like it had somewhere to be. The fridge hummed. Pipes settled in the walls. Every small noise sounded like a witness. My phone buzzed. Jack, boarding to Portland. 6 rows back, on her plane. The text sat there like a verdict. I walked the kitchen, touched the counter where 2 coffee cups had stood that morning, and let the truth draw its first clean line. She had left, I had stayed. That matters. Another message. Wheels up. I exhaled and closed the door to the guest room, the one we never used. The latch clicked soft and final, the way a chapter does when the last sentence knows exactly what it means. I took a seat in the living room, an empty chair across from mine, and waited for the noise that would change everything. Jack's first photo. Jack's message hit at dusk. 1 image, a restaurant table under warm light, plates still steaming. Her smile was full, easy, the kind people wear when they forget the bill ever comes due. John's hand rested over hers like it had always belonged there. No hesitation, no space. 2 rings catching the glow and meaning different things. I didn't zoom in. I didn't need to. My chest sank the way an elevator does when the cable sighs. It wasn't rage, it was gravity. Truth pulling everything loose to where it really lives. I saved the photo. New folder. New name for what my life had become. The house dimmed around me without my help. The day knew when to shut the lights. I sat with the picture until the screen timed out and threw my reflection back at me. Older by a year and a minute. You tell yourself maybe it's a work dinner, maybe there's context. Then you count the maybes and realize that's the context. You're bargaining with evidence. I set the phone down like it could bruise the table. Another ping. More tonight. Jack never wasted words. I stood, rubbed the ache out of my jaw, and watched the window turn to night. First photo lands, and the heart stops guessing. That's the trade. The phone stayed face down. When it lit again, it wasn't Jack. It was Emily, smiling, calling from a bed she said belonged to Rachel. I let it ring once and answered. Her face filled the screen, hair towel dry, voice soft like we'd never learned to hurt each other. Behind her, a blank wall in rental beige and a lamp with no personality, the kind you find in rooms people leave. Hey, she said. Just checking in. Seattle's been great. Rachel and I hit this amazing bookstore. 4 floors. You'd love it. 4 floors. Powell's in Portland has 4. Seattle doesn't. The lie was casual, like she'd practiced making it sound like nostalgia. I gave her what she wanted to hear. Uh-huh, sounds nice. She angled the camera carefully. No art, no photos, no friend in frame. Just pillows and good lighting, the kind a hotel understands. How's work? She asked. I talked about nothing. She laughed at nothing. We were 2 actors reading lines from different plays. Miss you, she said. That landed between us like a coin on a casket. Small, tidy, useless. Miss you too, I answered, because I wasn't ready to show my hand. Not yet. We hung up. The room went quiet enough to hear the heat kick on. I opened the saved photo, her at dinner with him, joy easy as breathing, and set it beside the frozen image from our call. 2 worlds. 1 woman. A single through line. Choice. My phone buzzed. Jack again. Video next? Short clip? You'll want to sit down. I did, and I pressed play. The clip played in my kitchen while the coffee went cold. Breakfast crowd behind glass, her laughing by the window with him, sunlight making everything look kinder than it was. A new ping. Hotel check-in. Riverside, room 412. Another, a park shot, their hands threaded like they were practicing a promise. Then the short video no husband needs explained. His arm around her waist, her face tilted up, the slow kiss you reserve for someone you plan to remember. I didn't rage. I sorted. Saved each thing to a folder with the kind of names only a man past denial uses. Dates, times, places. The file grew ribs. It could stand on its own. By noon, there was enough to build a bridge out of this marriage and never look back. I drafted a single email to an attorney a friend once called fair until you make her prove it. Attached 3 items: the dinner photo, the hotel check-in, the kiss. Subject line, clean break, no drama, need counsel, send. Silence, then the polite chime I'd started to trust, received. Can you come in tomorrow morning? I replied yes, read the thread again, and felt something loosen. Not joy, not relief, just room, the kind you make by moving heavy things to where they belong. That night, more drops arrived. I didn't watch them. I already knew the story. I just needed the ending written in ink. Morning would handle that. Her office was bright enough to make the truth show up honest. She shook my hand, said my name like she'd already decided not to waste it, then spread the photos across her desk in a clean line. Dinner, hotel room key card, park bench, the kiss. She didn't flinch. She indexed. Pen tapped 3 times, then stopped. What do you want, Adam? She asked. A clean break, I said. No spectacle, no alimony. We keep what's ours, no kids. Lease is simple. I'm not taking what isn't mine, and I'm not giving what is. She nodded once, eyes on the timestamps. You have enough to shut down spin. We file no fault, but we attach the record in case she tries to renegotiate reality. We talk terms, separate accounts, already separate. House is rented, transfer or let it expire. Personal property stays personal. No triangulation, no midnight phone calls. She drafted a checklist and slid it over. Simple lines, heavy choices. I initialed each one without shaking. 2 things, Patricia said. You remain calm when you serve the papers, and you do not engage emotionally. Proof, then silence. That I can do, I told her. And for the first time in a long time, it was true. She capped her pen. I'll have the packet ready by morning. Walking out, the air felt thinner in a way I could breathe. The plan wasn't revenge, it was order. And order, for a man who's been lied to, feels like mercy. She called that night, audio only. No face to read, just her voice softened to something I used to fall for. I miss you, she said, like we were playing house from different zip codes. As she talked, my phone lit with a new drop from Jack. A steakhouse photo, wine catching light, her smile turned up to 11 for him. The timing felt designed by someone cruel. I stared at the ceiling and kept my breathing even. Miss you too, I said, and heard the steadiness in it. Not kindness, control. She filled the silence with the weather, with Rachel's so funny story, with little nothings meant to keep a door open. I gave her the kind of yeses that don't mean anything. Men my age learn the value of holding a line no one else can see. When she ran out of noise, I told her I had an early morning. We hung up. The room went back to the truth. I set the phone down face up and let the picture do what it does. Put the story in order without any help from me. Air in, air out. The ache stayed, but it behaved. That's the point of distance. Pain under management. Another buzz. Jack again. A screenshot this time, texts I hadn't asked for but needed anyway, and one sentence changed what later would ever mean. The screenshot was clean. Her name, his name, and a line that belongs in a courtroom. 2 more weeks, and then back to normal life. But at least we'll have these memories. Normal. Like the lie could fold itself up when the trip ended and sleep politely in a drawer. Like I'd set the table and call it even. I forwarded it to Patricia with 3 words. Adding to file. Her reply came fast. Premeditation. 1 word that does the math for you. Not a slip. A plan. It didn't make the hurt smaller. It made the path straighter. I sat with the phrase back to normal life until it broke in my hands. Normal for me used to be forgiveness on demand, grace without receipts, love that swallowed disrespect because it didn't want a scene. That normal was dead the moment I saw Portland on a screen that wasn't mine. I wrote my own line under theirs. There is no us to return to. Not a threat. A boundary. Then I did what steady men do. Sent the time, date, and screenshot ID to Jack. Synced Patricia's checklist. Set my alarm. No speeches, no angry paragraphs. Just the work of closing a door the right way. I slept hard for the first time in weeks. Morning would bring the next move, and I was done calling any of this normal. Jack called between drops. Voice even, like he'd done this 100 times and never enjoyed it once. Don't tell Susan yet, he said. Not until we have everything. Timing matters. I swallowed the urge to be noble and loud. There's a kind of impatience that feels like action but ruins the endgame. He wasn't protecting them. He was protecting the proof. Keep calm, keep quiet, he added. If she senses heat, patterns change. We need routine. Routine is evidence. I walked the length of my living room with the phone to my ear, eyes on the same 4 pictures we'd never bothered to hang. I wanted to call Susan, warn her, give her a head start on the heartbreak. Jack let the silence stretch just long enough to make me hear my own breath. This is timing, Adam, he said. You can be right and still lose if you rush. I wrote it down. No leaks. Full record. Then truth. That line felt like a keel under a boat I'd been trying to steer with oars. Not comforting, steady. We set milestones. Mid-trip report, final week capture, return day handoff. No surprises, no drama. I repeated his words back to him so they'd stick. Don't warn, don't confront, document. Good, he said. Now let the camera do the talking. So I did. And the next 2 weeks spoke volumes. The pictures came like a slow drum. Italian place with low lights and soft bread. Her leaning in, laughing at something I know wasn't that funny. A hiking trail, wide sky. Her new boots dusted with effort. His hand at her lower back like directions he never forgot. The coast, gray and clean. Their silhouettes pressed together against a wind that didn't move them an inch. The kind of shots people frame when they're proud of the life they're stealing. No fights, no messy edges, just ease. That's what cut. Not the bodies close, the comfort closer. You don't fake that kind of smile. You earn it with intention. Jack's notes were simple. Time, location, angle. Minimal commentary, he texted. Let the timestamp speak. I did. I let each ping drop into a folder until the folder had weight. By the time the airport day hit, 2 tickets, different gates, separate cities, the pattern wasn't a pattern. It was a script they'd written together. She flew home. He flew to San Diego, probably with a clean lie for Susan. The last photo from the terminal caught her mid-laugh, head tilted, relief all over her face, like getting away with it had become a love language. I stared at that smile until mine died. Not out of rage, out of certainty. Some evidence shouts. Some just grins and dares you to argue. I didn't. I just saved it. and waited for her to come back. Jack handed me two things at the corner table, a manila folder and a small black USB that weighed more than it should. "Everything's on there," he said. "Photos, clips, timestamps, locations, clean chain." He didn't offer comfort. He offered order. That's better. We went through the checklist one last time. Airport logs, hotel bills, faces in frames you can't argue with. He slid the folder toward me. I slid a thank you back that didn't need words. "Good luck," he said, and meant it like a verdict, not a wish. We shook hands. His palm was dry, steady, the kind of grip you remember when your world keeps slipping. I walked to my car with the drive in my pocket, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't rehearse a speech. I didn't need one. Truth doesn't perform, it presents. At home, I set the drive on the kitchen table beside my keys and stared at it the way a man stares at a tool he knows will either save him or cut him. Maybe both. The folder fanned open. Dates, names, each moment held like a pinned insect. I gathered it into a neat stack and felt something settle inside me. A center. Not joy, not closure. Center. I locked the front door, turned off the lights, and let the house hold the weight with me. Tomorrow had a shape now, and it fit in the palm of my hand. That night I did something I hadn't in years. I watched an action movie she always called noise. Explosions bloomed across the TV. The couch shook with somebody else's crisis. I felt a smile I didn't have to apologize for tug at the corner of my mouth. The hero didn't need me, and that felt like rest. I ordered Chinese from the place down the block. Orange chicken, extra heat. Ate it out of the carton with a plastic fork, standing at the counter like a younger version of me. The house was quiet in a way that wasn't lonely. It was honest. Cabinets closed with a soft click. The fridge hummed steady. My phone face down stayed blessedly dumb. I breathed without counting. Thought about nothing for long stretches and realized that is its own kind of prayer. The folder and USB sat where I left them, not accusing, just waiting. I didn't touch them. Tonight wasn't for war. Tonight was for feeling the weight roll off a shoulder that forgot how to drop it. I rinsed the carton, set it in the bin, and let the silence finish the scene. This was small relief, sure, but it was mine. Tomorrow would be work again. Signatures, packets, plans. For now, I let the credits run and the house be a house. And I slept. I scrolled to a name I hadn't hit in too long and pressed call. "Man, Adam, thought you died," Aaron laughed. Same old voice, same easy ribbing. "Grab a beer," I said. No excuses, no checking calendars that weren't mine. Just yes. We met at a corner bar that smelled like wood and memory. First sip went down like 2009. We traded headlines, work, knees that pop now, who moved where. He told me the poker group still runs on Thursdays. Same faces, same bad jokes. "You in?" he asked. I didn't pause. "Yeah, I'm in." A simple sentence that felt like a door opening. We stayed longer than we planned. One beer became two, then a basket of wings, then stories we hadn't told since we wore cheaper shoes. We didn't fix anything, we didn't have to. Presence did the work. Belonging is a muscle. Mine remembered. On the drive home, the city looked different. Not brighter, truer. My phone stayed quiet. No texts I needed to dodge, no lies to step around. I parked, sat in the dark car for a minute, and let the night settle where it belonged. Inside, the house met me like a handshake. Steady, familiar, mine. I slept hard. In the morning, I wanted air and movement and something simple to touch. So I headed to the garage. Morning light cut through the dust, turning the garage into a map of everything I'd deferred. I started small, swept the floor, stacked boxes, found the camping gear we never used because there was always a reason not to. The tent still smelled like plastic and plans. Then I saw the case. Black, scuffed, forgotten behind winter coats that never fit right. The latch stuck, then gave. The guitar lay there patient as a dog waiting at the door. I lifted it and felt that old, awkward weight settle into my hands. First chord buzzed dirty. Second tried to run. Third found something true. Fingers remembered enough to hurt. The sound filled the concrete room, thin, then fuller, then almost like it used to be when I played just to hear myself feel. The neck was a little warped, so was I. We met in the middle. Nathan from next door wandered over, grinning. "Didn't know you played," he said. "Used to," I shrugged. He told me about the car he's rebuilding since his divorce, how some things finally get quiet when you stop apologizing for wanting them. We nodded the way men do when words start getting in the way. He left. I played one more clumsy run and laughed out loud, alone, on purpose. That sound hit the back wall and came back taller. I put the guitar on a stand in the corner. Next, I told myself, make the numbers honest too. I started with numbers. Logged in and checked every account like I was counting ribs after a fight. Savings, checking, credit lines, clean. No surprises, just the quiet proof of who paid what and when. I called the bank, confirmed the direct deposit hits mine alone, set alerts for anything that shouldn't move. The rep asked if everything was okay. "Just getting organized," I said, and meant it. Then the lease. I rang the landlord, laid it out clean. 2 signatures now, 1 later. Options on the table, transfer to me or let it run its last months and exit without drama. He appreciated the clarity, I appreciated the dates. We scheduled a walkthrough to note what stays and what goes. Logistics aren't romantic, but they save you from bleeding twice. I sorted the bills, utilities, internet, the auto-pay zombies that keep feeding even when the body's cold. Passwords reset, emails updated. By noon, the money was honest. Hers is hers, mine is mine, our hours reduced to a line item with an expiration date. When the last confirmation pinged, the pressure behind my eyes eased. The knot wasn't gone, but it wasn't in charge. Money stops being a weapon the second you name every dollar. I closed the laptop, checked the folder, and felt the next step rise on its own. Take this order to Patricia and turn it into ink. I sat across from Patricia with the folder open like a clean wound. She walked me through the packet line by line, voice steady, eyes harder than sympathy and better than pity. Separate accounts, already done. Personal property stays personal. Lease plan documented. No alimony, both employed, 7 years, no kids. She explained each clause like she was building a fence. Straight, necessary, not meant to keep me in, meant to keep chaos out. "Any questions?" she asked. "Just one," I said. "Where do I sign?" She turned the pages, flagged the spots. I set the tip of the pen down and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control that didn't need volume. The signature came out even, no tremor. Another page, same line, same name. Dull work to anyone else. To me, a map out. "We'll file today," Patricia said. "No fault, evidence attached. If she tries to rewrite the past, we don't argue. We point." She tapped the folder. "You stay calm when you tell her. Don't negotiate with tears. Don't fight with ghosts." I nodded. That was the deal I'd already made with myself. She slid copies into a sleeve. The paper felt cool, final, like a door that closes on oiled hinges. I thanked her, stood, and tucked the packet under my arm. Outside, the air had that clean edge you get after rain. Next came the countdown, the quiet hours before a flight lands and a speech meets a truth it can't outrun. I hit the driving range after work, a bucket of balls and an hour to burn the noise out of my head. Grip, stance, breathe. My dad used to stand behind me and say, "Smooth, not hard. Let the club do the work." I could hear him tonight, clear as ever. The first swing was ugly. Second found the center. Third flew straight enough to make me believe in muscle memory and other small miracles. I let my lungs set the tempo. Inhale on the waggle, exhale on the strike. The ball arced into that gray Seattle sky and dropped like a period on a clean sentence. Peace isn't loud, it's repeatable. Phone buzzed in my pocket. Her name on the screen, 2 days left. I read it twice like the meaning might change if I stared. It didn't. I typed back one word that carried none of what I felt. Enjoy. A few swings later, I stopped chasing distance. All I wanted was control. Same in golf, same in life. Keep your head down. Keep your grip light. Finish high. On the drive home, I didn't put on music. I counted lights, let the tires hum, and pictured the kitchen table the way it needed to look when she walked in. Papers in place, laptop awake, nothing messy except the truth. Calm before a storm isn't empty. It's loaded. Tomorrow I'd set the stage. The day after I'd let it speak. I started with the kitchen. Counters wiped, sink empty, 2 cups in the rack like a history lesson. I cleared the fridge door of old lists and dead magnets, left the surface bare so nothing would distract from what mattered. The manila folder went on the table at an angle that couldn't be missed. The packet from Patricia sat on top, tabs like small flags. I plugged the USB into my laptop and watched the folders bloom. Dates, places, clips that didn't need narration. Quick test. Restaurant still, park still, the short video that makes breath go shallow. Everything opened. Everything worked. I closed the lid and let the machine sleep with the truth inside it. Refilled the coffee canister. Fresh filter ready. Mug where my hand finds it without looking. I want the room to feel normal so the abnormal reads louder. That's the point. No chaos, no raised voice, just order wearing steel. I walked the house once. Bed made, hallway clear, front door latch smooth. The quiet had shape now. Not empty, prepared. I sat on the couch to see what she would see when she looked up. Me steady, the papers between us, a chair she could take if she wanted to sit with reality for a minute. Night settled. I poured one last cup, tasted the bitter, and let it stand for resolve. 2 days became one. Then one became a single door opening. The hinge gave that same tired creak, same as 2 weeks ago, same as 7 years of coming and going. Deja vu walked in wearing my wife's face. Emily crossed the threshold with a rolling suitcase, sunglasses on though the sun was already losing interest. The house looked exactly the way I left it. Counters clear, folder angled on the table, mug by my hand. Familiar, on purpose. She paused 10 feet away like she'd found her mark again. The suitcase wheels clicked once against the baseboard and stopped. She took off the glasses, slow, careful, the way you pocket a lie you think you'll need later. "We need to talk," she said, the line she rehearsed. Same pitch, same breath, like a song she can't stop singing. I let the moment repeat. Same room, same clock, same distance. But this time the stage was mine. My pulse stayed low, my voice stayed in my chest. Men my age learned to hold their ground without making noise. She scanned for softness, found paper, found a pen, found a laptop asleep with a truth strong enough to wake itself. Her shoulders squared like she was bracing for whatever character she wanted me to play. Beggar, apologizer, fool. I didn't move. I let the silence reset the scene. Then I stood, eased the chair back, and felt the room tilt in my favor. "Okay," I said, "let's talk." I kept my eyes on hers, calm as a man reading a verdict he already knows. "That's interesting timing," I said, letting each word land. "Because I already filed." The room dropped to 0. No fridge hum, no clock tick, no air. Her mouth opened, then forgot how sound works. She didn't sit. She didn't run. She just stopped, like someone pulled the plug on a performance mid-scene. I pointed to the table. Papers. Tabs. My name where it needed to be. "They're right there," I added. Steady. Even. The kind of tone you use when a job's done right. Her voice came back thin, a wire about to snap. You filed?" The word didn't fit her mouth. "Yes." Nothing else. No speech. No comfort. She stared at the packet like it might blink first. The suitcase handle trembled against her palm. I watched the calculation hit. Tears or anger, blame or bargaining. She tried them all in her eyes before reaching for any of them out loud. I didn't fill the space. Let the ink speak. Let the manila glow like a warning light. Some moments don't need volume. They need accuracy. She swallowed. "Adam, wait. Can we—" "No," I said, soft enough to cut. Then I breathed once, slow, and lined up the next truth she wasn't ready for. "Also, there's something else you should know." I let the pause stretch until it had edges. Then I set it down soft. "Oh, and say hi to John for me." The room changed temperature. Light went from warm to hospital. Color drained from her face like someone pulled a plug behind her eyes. How did you know?" she asked, voice stuck between 2 gears. Her hand found the suitcase handle and couldn't hold it still. I didn't move toward her. I didn't move at all. That's the thing about a corner. You don't have to push. The wall does it for you. You weren't careful, I said. Portland's hard to hide when you keep leaving pieces of it on our kitchen counter. She blinked fast, as if speed could outpace facts. It couldn't. She tried to smile the way a person tries a locked door. Adam, you're misunderstanding. No, I said, steady as a level. I'm corrected. Her fingers trembled around the suitcase grip. The room had only two sounds, her breathing and the small, nervous click of plastic against plastic. She scanned the table, the folder, the tabs, the pen, waiting for a name that wasn't coming back. Please, she whispered, just tell me what you think you know. I nodded once. Not what I think, what I can show. I walked to the laptop and flipped it open. The truth was already awake. The screen came up clean, no drama, just files named like a clock. I clicked the first. The restaurant still. Warm light, plates mid-meal, her smile easy as a Sunday. John's hand over hers, 2 rings catching glow for 2 different reasons. I didn't narrate. I let the picture stand. Next, the park video. 20 seconds. Hand in hand. A joke I couldn't hear. The pull-in kiss. Not rushed, not stolen, practiced. Her breath hitched once, quick and quiet. She didn't ask me to stop. Third, Riverside Hotel, room 412. Keycard timestamp matched the day she told me Rachel was cooking pasta. The font on the receipt was plain, cruel, permanent. I watched the numbers do what words can't, shut the exits. I opened the final folder. Dates stacked like ribs, locations pinned, angles tight. Day 3, I said. Giovanni's. Day 5, the hiking trail east. Day 7 through 10, Riverside, room 412. Each click was a nail, each timestamp a hammer. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand like she could hold the past in. There's more, I said. I didn't bring all of it to the table. She shook her head, but not to deny, just to try to loosen the trap she'd built. No more speeches, I added. We're past that. On the table my phone buzzed once, small, sharp. I didn't look yet. I let the images breathe. Then I turned the screen so she could see herself smiling at a man who wasn't her husband. Now, I said, do you still want to talk? My phone buzzed once on the table, sharp as a tap on glass. I glanced down. John. One line on the preview, needy and stupid. Did he find out? I didn't touch it. I let the name sit there between us like a stain you can't wipe. Emily saw it and went white. Her hand shot to her purse, then stalled midair. What is that? She managed. I kept my voice steady. Looks like John's wondering the same thing you are. The sentence landed and kept falling. She reached for her own phone, thumb flailing the screen, breath chopping in half. A second buzz, his again. She fumbled, then threw the phone onto the couch like it burned. It bounced once and went quiet. Karma rarely shows up on schedule. Tonight it rang the doorbell and let itself in. She stared at me, then at the laptop, the restaurant, the park, room 412 still open like a ledger. Adam, please, she said, voice small. This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, I answered. You didn't trip and fall into 2 weeks. Tears gathered fast, the real kind, the kind that don't help. She covered her mouth like she could catch the lie before it got out again. Silence crowded the room. I let it. The photo on the screen kept smiling. Her phone stayed where it landed. When she finally spoke, the script changed. Not to truth, but to defense. And she went straight for the oldest trick in the book. I was lonely, she started, palms up like a plea. You ignored me. You've been distant for months. I tried, Adam. I really tried. The words came quick, practiced, with just enough tremble to sound earned. Work has been crushing. John just listened. I made a mistake. I let her finish. Men like me have learned to spot the pivot, turn the wound into a mirror and make me apologize for bleeding. You ignored me. You made me feel invisible. If you'd shown up, I wouldn't have... Fill in whatever suits. I kept my hands flat on the table. You weren't lonely, I said, calm. You were occupied. She blinked hard. That's not fair. Fair would have been a conversation 6 months ago. I nodded at the screen. This is choreography. Tears slid, clean lines on a white face. For a second, she almost had me, the way history can be weaponized when you're tired. Then I pictured the park, the kiss, the ease. I pictured the text about back to normal life. You didn't talk to me, I said, sharp enough to hold shape. You replaced me. She exhaled like a tire losing air. We can fix this, she whispered. Counseling, boundaries. I'll cut it off, I swear. I didn't answer right away. Some doors deserve the sound they make when they close. And if she wanted negotiation, she was about to learn the new rules. She shifted tactics like a driver grabbing gears. Counseling, she said fast. We can do counseling. Give me time. I'll cut it off. I'll call him now, I swear. Her hands shook so hard she had to clasp them to make them behave. Then she folded, sat down slow, shoulders caved, eyes hunting for mercy in the space between us. I let the room breathe. I've learned that men my age lose themselves by trying to rescue a fire. Counseling works only when both want it, I said, level. You didn't want us, you wanted both. The sentence hung there like a locked door. She nodded, a desperate rhythm. I'll prove it. No more trips, no more texts. I'll change my number, please. 7 years, Adam. She reached for the papers, fingertips skimming the tab like contact could soften ink. I didn't pull them away. I didn't have to. The words were already written. This isn't punishment, I said. It's a boundary. Esteem doesn't come back with apologies. It comes back with lines. Tears landed. Some were real. Most came late. Just don't end it like this, she whispered. It ended when you booked Portland, I answered. I'm just making it official. She flinched, and for the first time looked honestly scared. I could taste why. There's one more person in this story who never got a vote, and she deserves the truth by name. I said her name gently, the way you carry a glass through a crowded room. Susan Miller. Emily's eyes snapped up. 12 years married, 2 kids, 8 and 5. The facts landed without volume. Facts don't need it. Color drained from her face. Adam, don't, she said, small and sharp at once. Please, you'll blow up a family. He already did, I answered. I'm not detonating anything. I'm turning on the lights. I slid a single page forward. A summary Jack compiled. Nothing cruel, just clean. School photos. A birthday post. The kind of normal you don't get to borrow while you torch your own. She pressed her palms flat like she could hold the floor still. You can't tell her. I can. And I will. My voice didn't rise. It narrowed. Actions have consequences. Her mouth opened, closed. The suitcase handle clicked under her fingers, a nervous metronome for a song that was over. She'll hate me, Emily whispered. She'll be honest, I said. That's more than you gave her. For a long beat, nobody moved. The laptop glowed with her smiling beside a man who wasn't her husband. The papers waited, patient as granite. This is the part where I choose who I am, I told her, and I'm done participating in a lie. She swallowed. What happens now? Now, I said, we finish this, and in the morning, Susan learns the truth. I checked the wall clock, 6:45. You've got 15 minutes, I said, even, like reading a weather report. Pizza's on the way. When it gets here, you need to be gone. She stared like I'd spoken another language. I pointed once toward the bedroom. Pack what you need for tonight. We'll schedule a time for the rest. The house listened. So did the clock. The second hand dragged its quiet circle. She moved at last, past the table, past the laptop, down the hall. A minute later, I heard the suitcase unzip, then snag, teeth catching, fabric fighting back. She tugged. It stuck. A small, stupid battle that said more than tears. Some exits don't open clean. I set my phone on the counter and watched the delivery tracker inch closer. 10 minutes. 9. I poured water, took a slow drink, and let the room show her what I'd already decided. No yelling, no chaos, no more theater. Dignity can keep time. She reappeared with the bag half closed, hair messy, eyes red. 15 minutes? She asked, trying to make it sound cruel. 15, I said. Not punishment. A boundary. Outside, a car door thumped. The neighbor's dog barked twice and lost interest. Inside, the suitcase zipper finally surrendered with a harsh zip, like a line being drawn. 3 minutes. 2. The doorbell rang. Bright, ordinary, final. I walked to answer it. That's your timer, I told her, not unkindly. Use it. She stood by the door, bag in hand, mascara bruised under her eyes. I never meant to hurt you, she said, voice thin, like the words could squeeze through a crack and change the math. Yes, you did, I answered, calm. You just didn't mean to get caught. The sentence landed and stayed. She tried again, some mash of apology and memory, but the room had run out of space for speeches. Tears came in clean tracks. Mine didn't. I wasn't made of stone. I was made of a choice I should have made sooner. I slid the pizza box onto the counter, the smell of pepperoni acting like a normal I could live with. We'll set a time for the rest of your things, I said. I'll be respectful, but tonight, you leave. Her hand found the knob, then hesitated. 7 years, she whispered. 7, I said. I wish we'd honored them better. She took one step, then another, the kind of footsteps you feel through the floor more than you hear. The door opened on a strip of evening and a slice of quiet. She looked back once, searching for a version of me that would fold. He wasn't here. Take care of yourself, I added. Not mercy, not malice, just truth. She crossed the threshold. The door eased shut and clicked, soft, surgical, permanent. I exhaled. The house held steady, and for the first time in a long time, so did I. I set the box on the counter and lifted the lid. Heat rolled up like a small mercy. Pepperoni, still shining, edges crisp the way I like when no one's voting. I took a slice, let the grease sting my fingers, and bit down. Salt, fat, bread, honest things that don't pretend to be more. The room stayed faithful to its new job. Quiet. No shoes in the hall. No suitcase teeth. Just the soft tick of the clock remembering how to be background. I chewed slow. You'd be surprised what a simple bite can fix. Nothing big. Just the noise that thinks it owns you. The laptop slept on the table. The folder rested beside it, both patient as tools after a job's done. I leaned on the counter, watched the steam thin into nothing, and let my lungs do something I'd withheld, fill all the way up. Peace doesn't strut, it doesn't post, it just arrives, sits down, and asks for nothing. For the first time in months, my shoulders were square without effort. I didn't replay arguments I never had. I didn't rehearse lines I'd never speak. I just stood there, a man in a kitchen with a warm slice and a cold truth that finally stopped burning. I finished the piece, wiped my hands, and looked at the sleeping screen. One more thing. Not for revenge, for balance. Time to tell the person who never got a choice. I opened the laptop and let the glow find my face. New message. Address line, Susan Miller. I sat with her name a second, like a door I was about to knock on at midnight. Subject. Information you deserve to know. No drama, no barbs. Just the phrase that should begin every hard conversation. I attached what mattered. The dinner photo, the hotel timestamp, the park clip. Evidence that could stand in a room by itself and not blush. Then I wrote what I'd want if the roles were reversed. Susan, I'm sorry to send this. Your husband spent 2 weeks in Portland with my wife, Emily. I thought you should know. The attachments are clear. Do what's best for you and your kids. I wish there were a kinder way to say this. Adam Parker. I read it twice. No poison, no heat, just light. My finger hovered a breath over send, then landed. Whoosh. The sound was small, but the room felt different after. Not lighter, truer. I closed the lid, let the hinge whisper shut, and stood there with the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for applause. My phone stayed still. The house held steady. Somewhere across town, another kitchen light would come on, and a woman would see what I'd seen. Truth doesn't heal everything, but it sets the bone so it can. The calls started before sunrise. John lit up my screen over and over, unknown number, then his real one, then blocked, like shame trying on disguises. I let them die in the dark. Voicemail filled with a man negotiating with the walls. Anger first, then reason, then fear. I didn't listen past the first 10 seconds. Block, done. Emily texted mid-morning, "We can talk." I stared at the words until they shrank into what they were, stall tactics. I typed back, "Sign the papers, nothing more, no commas for her to climb." Noise kept reaching. A concerned coworker, a number I didn't recognize. I let them all bounce. Choosing peace isn't passive, it's a filter. If it didn't serve the ending we'd already earned, it didn't get in. My mom called around lunch, voice warm, steady. She didn't ask for details. She asked if I'd eaten. I told her yes. She said she was proud of me for being calm and not cruel. That meant more than any speech I could have given myself. We talked about normal things, her garden, my dad's old clubs, until the day felt human again. By evening, the phone was quiet. Not empty, curated. The folder stayed on the table, patient as ever. The house held its line. Chaos had knocked all day. I let peace answer. And for once, it kept the door. News travels like water, finds every crack. Through Aaron I heard it first. Susan filed. Straight to an attorney, no fireworks, just signatures and custody terms. Next, John transferred. Another branch, another story to memorize. Office gossip took its bite, then the building swallowed him like it does all men who think walls won't remember. Emily resigned 2 weeks later. A short email about new opportunities, the kind that smells like smoke. I didn't celebrate. Some endings don't need a parade to count. I signed a lease on a smaller place closer to downtown. 1 bedroom, tall windows, the kind of quiet that doesn't keep receipts. I moved what was mine and left what never belonged. The kitchen came together first. Clean counters, 1 mug. The guitar took the corner by the window, stand polished like a promise kept this time. Nights found a rhythm. Poker on Thursdays, range on Sundays, calls with mom that didn't end with me lying about being fine. I cooked food I actually wanted and burned a pan without feeling like I broke a rule. Sleep arrived the way peace does, unannounced, on time. Sometimes I'd catch myself waiting for a text that doesn't exist anymore. Then I'd look up, see the guitar, and remember the point. New order isn't noise, it's alignment. The packet from Patricia sat on a shelf, thinner every day, not by weight, but by relevance. The life I wanted was finally the one I was in. I ran into Emily at the grocery store, produce aisle, apples stacked like little verdicts. She saw me first. "Hey," she said, small, careful. "Hey," I answered. No edge, no invitation. "How are you?" "I'm good," I said, and meant it. We stood there a beat too long, then I pushed my cart and kept moving. Some conversations end best by never starting. That night in the new place, the windows held the city without letting it in. I cooked what I wanted, washed 1 plate, left it to dry. The guitar waited in the corner like a friendly dare. I sat on the couch with a beer and the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for proof. Phone buzzed. "Poker tonight. You in?" "Yes," I typed. No speech, no caveats, just a man choosing where he belongs. People think revenge is loud. It isn't. Peace is louder. It fills the room, settles the hands, makes sleep show up on time. I don't replay the lies. I don't chase explanations. I count what's true. I kept my dignity. I told the truth. I walked out clean. If any of this sounds like your story, if you've stood on that edge and chose yourself, stick around. Tap subscribe, drop a comment. Peace over revenge. We'll keep telling the kind of stories that set bones right. I put my phone down, looked at the guitar, and smiled to no one in particular. This is life-size now, and it finally fits.